everyone. Happy New Year. Welcome to a brand new 2023. Thank you so much for dialing in. I am Seal Stanford, and I have my colleague Camilo here to talk about the 10th step of greatness. Camilo, please say hello.
Hey, hello everyone. Yeah, I'm very happy to be here. And yes, very happy to start a new year. I know that 2023 will be a wonderful year. So we are going to keep talking about these interesting topics so you have more tools in order to get what you want from this year.
Thanks so much. So, and to add to that, one of the great things you can do to start off 2023 is actually the 10th step to greatness, which is all about review. So, and I know a lot of you do a review. So if you wanted to improve in different areas in 2023, why don't you take a quick review of the things that you did well, the things that worked well, the things that moved you from point A to point B in 2022. Do a quick review. And, you know, doing a review is really, really important because, you know, a lot of people fear doing reviews because you'll see the things that didn't work out well, but the positive side of that is you see the things that worked out really well. You see all the successful actions. And if you're really, really intentional about accomplishing your wants, your dreams, and goals, well, then you need to identify the area that needs to be tweaked so you can get there faster and so that you can be more effective. And so review, that's why review is the 10th step to greatness. You know, when you're trying to get to that greatness level, that's where the integrity comes in. And I love, you know, Alan has a quote that if you want to create a masterpiece, you have to be able to master each one of the pieces. And the first time I ever heard that, I'm like, oh, that makes so much sense. You just master each piece, which equals a masterpiece. You don't try to do the whole thing at one time because you'll never win like that. So to get the integrity in and to really be able to accomplish that dream and that big goal and you want that you're going for, taking a review and looking at your statistics in different areas, where you're at, how much you improved, that's all about quality control. And that's how you improve. That's how you make it doable. That's how you do it on the right gradient. So Camilo, what do you have to say about this subject?
Yes, like not that you are mentioning that, another thing is that connected to reviewing your progress is that it also adds appreciation because it's like you are able to notice what you have done, the effort that you put, the time that you dedicated. It's like a way to really notice how much progress I have made, how far I'm from achieving my dream. And something that is connected to that, I just wanted to mention, there is a book that Alan recommends, and that is in the field of sales, and it's from Frank Bettger. So one of the things that I always remember from one of the chapters is like the importance of keeping track of your numbers. Yeah. And in sales, in the book, he mentions like how many calls he was making. So there is this interesting chapter when Frank started explaining like, okay, he was going to fail in sales. But what he noticed and what he started doing after he was like on a really bad moment of his career, he wanted to quit. And he started tracking his numbers, how many calls he was making every day. And the thing that he noticed is how very few calls he was making. So he noticed, okay, yes, I really need to put honesty in my numbers and I really need to start doing way more calls because if I do, he was saying that if he was able to do more calls, he will be able also to have more appointments and more sales. So the important thing that he mentioned there is that, yeah, like as you keep track of your numbers, it's like it really puts integrity in place, because it's like, okay, I'm doing what I need to do, or I'm not doing it. It's like, it's black or white. It's not like, okay, maybe yes, no, it really puts consistency in your results if you really keep track and review that. So, and in sales, we use calls, as the book mentions,
Yeah.
but in other things, that maybe if you want to start exercising, okay, how many hours you are dedicated to exercise. If you want to improve a skill, how many hours you are dedicating to that skill. And yes, like there are different measures that you can do, and the importance of reviewing them like weekly or monthly, but make sure that you keep track of that, but also you go back and check, okay, how much of that I'm doing, how much effort I'm really putting in. It's like a integrity call and honesty on what you are doing.
Yeah. You're so funny when you tell that story about, that what Frank Betcher gave in that book. And Alan read that book. I think it was like 100 and I don't know. Do you remember the number? Like over 100 times. So, and he gives the number in one of the lectures, but reminds me of I walked into his house one day and he was reading the book that he wrote that, sold the most copies, The Secrets to Increasing Your Power, Wealth, and Happiness. And I was very confused. I was like, why are you reading this? You wrote it. Why could you possibly be reading this? And he just looked at me so funny, like, like, why not? But his answer was, well, just because I wrote it, and he had written it several years earlier, but he said, just because I wrote it, doesn't mean that, he said, I've changed. Things have changed. I've changed. I'm in a different place since the first time that I wrote the book. And so he was reviewing and he was looking, and, you really get, it's like you really get a lot of knowledge when you go back and do a review. And so, and one of the other things I think I saw from my own personal trainer in the health area, I live in Texas, so the only trainer I have right now is in Arizona. So I usually go back there once a quarter or something. And when I go, I always go see him, and I will occasionally touch base with him by text and just kind of double check to make sure I'm doing everything or shouldn't change anything. But what impressed me was he's mastery level. And so when I go in, I work out with him that whole hour or hour and a half, actually. And at the end, he kind of tells me, evaluates and tells me what he sees. And it's not because I turned in any records or turned any statistics, but I know what they are. So the last 6 months ago, I went in and I said, so what do you see? And he said, well, I see someone who's very inconsistent in their workout. And he was right. I might make it to the gym 4 times one week, but then I may not make it to the gym at all the next week. Then I might make it 3 times the next week. And I know you asked me when we were talking, how could he tell that? Well, he watched my form and he watched the routine that he had me do that day. And he could tell just my strength, using weights, and then what I would do, aerobically or whatever. But he was a master, so he could just tell. He didn't need to see any records. He could tell. So, oh my gosh, that was so embarrassing. But he was right. I was very inconsistent. So I made the intention that the next time I saw him, he would not tell me that result again. I did not like being told I was inconsistent, because, that's undisciplined. So I really wanted to improve that. So that was my intention, like to be consistent. So I went back and I worked out 3 more months. The next time I went in, I didn't tell him my statistics. I did my whole workout, an hour and a half. I said, what do you see? And he just kept telling me, and everything he had me do, like, you look really great. Your form is really good. And he said, you're very consistent. So a master can spot that stuff, I think, a mile off. They can see if you practice. They can see if you've delivered what you've delivered your stats, delivered what you promised. they can just quickly review, right? And just by your actions and what you've done and see whether or not that integrity is in on the thing that you're trying to do. So is there anything else you want to add to that?
Yes, thank you very much, Cecile. Yes, what was coming to you is connected to another thing that can be a successful action for many people is journaling.
Oh, yeah.
Because many times when you journal, you are reviewing your points of view from the past. But especially if you have like a journal that where you keep your goals and how much progress you have made, that can really improve like your motivation, because it's like you start noticing, oh, okay, I'm making this progress. And it can be with any area, like you were mentioning exercise, having somebody that is reviewing you. In this case, you didn't even need to give him your numbers because he was noticing in your practice. But yes, many times like successful action is just keep a journal and keep your records and be having the time to really go back and see what were your points of view when you started something and what are your points of view now. So that it's a very successful action because it can really give you like insights about your progress and insights about, okay, how much effort I'm really putting in this thing that I really want to improve. So yeah, that was coming to you, like kind of reviewing can be keeping your numbers, but also keeping like your points of view, like keep reviewing them, and also like keep track of what you wanted to accomplish. Especially many times we do that at the beginning of the year, but maybe at the end of the year we are not that into it. But so consistency is key in order to keep that, and a journal is a great way to do that. So that was what I wanted to add.
Oh, thank you for that. So the purpose of review is to see the areas you need to improve in, all the areas. It's a positive process if you let it be, and the areas that you've improved in and done well at. It also lets you know how close are you to actually having greatness in that area, which is all about the integrity of it. So there are 4 questions we'd like to end off with here. And you need to be able to answer yes to each of these questions. But if you can't answer yes, the process is to not beat yourself up, okay? So the process is, if you can't answer yes, that's okay, that's your starting point. And now you can start improving from there. So the first question is, do you honor your word? It can be yes, it can be maybe, it can be no. So just be honest with yourself. Do you honor your word? The next question is, do you honor your exchanges? Are you, what you put out, you should get back? And, or are you giving, are you receiving more than you're giving? So, look at, do you honor your exchanges? Are you delivering what you promised? The next one is, do you honor and deliver what you promised? It can be yes, it can be maybe, it can be no. And the last one is, do you honor your goals, or do you honor your wants? And do you honor your dreams? And so if the answer is not yes, it's okay. You've got your starting point for 2023. And just look at what are some of the things you can do to start moving closer to getting better and accomplishing and putting more integrity in each area. And that will make it a great 2023. Thank you so much for dialing in. And that is the 10th step to greatness.